like you got a locker. 2, 10, 5, hang down 7.
Max.
Pass or down to your dime. So, 11,500. Wow, what a nice deal there. Thank you, boys.
He wants your number.
He wants to hold your number up.
2711.
Next in line.
After Indiana, she went to Ohio for the night, for a few nights, and then Bree and I met to pick her up in Pennsylvania. Right away, I noticed that she was extremely dehydrated and had a nasty cough. Dehydration can be fatal for horses and can lead to serious complications like colic, shock, or kidney failure. Thankfully, we treated it quickly. As soon as we got home to the barn, the vet came over that night for an emergency visit and put her on Exceed, which is an extremely strong antibiotic, and ran blood. 103.8. Wow, the vet's on their way, and I am freaking out.
And then as soon as I have lab results, I'll call you too.
Perfect. Good.
Okay.
And unfortunately, not only did she have a nasty cough, but she had a bacterial and a viral infection. Thankfully, it was not strangles. To make matters worse, I accidentally left the gate open, and we had a quarantine protocol breach. And Reese's, my little Viking pony, who I also got at the auction, had come into contact with Drakaina. And as a result, Reese and Drakaina rode out that quarantine process together.
104.2. I'm calling the vet.
And ultimately, Reese came down with an extremely high temperature. During this time, Drakaina bonded with the emus. Well, actually, she fell in love with the emus, particularly my boy emu called Rex. After we cleared the quarantine period, I introduced Reese's and Drakaina across the fence to the main herd, and Drakaina kept running back to the emus. It was quite touching to see. Once the chaos had calmed down, I added Patriot into the mix, and Drakaina and Patriot immediately became yearling sisters. So, as of now, it's Reese's, my little Viking pony, and Patriot and Drakaina are in one little happy herd. However, I have noticed that the emus have been quite unsettled, and it seems to be perhaps boredom, but Drakaina runs back. Maybe it's not boredom, maybe she just misses them, but Drakaina runs back to the fence on occasion. And I have noticed that she also does not like her herd of 3 to be separated from the main herd and also her emu buddies. She wants everyone together. So I think the solution may be to reintroduce the emus back with Drakaina, Reese, and Patriot. If the emu integration goes well, which I see no reason why it shouldn't, then it will add a lot more convenience to me too of managing the water while making sure the water doesn't freeze during the winter. Sarge and I are gonna go for a small hack in the big field next to Drakaina and Reese and Patriot, and to see how this goes. So stay tuned. So today I'm going to bring my Clydesdale Sarge boy into the big paddock for a quick hack with Drakaina, Patriot, and Reese, just to get them more acquainted together before they all go out together in one herd. Sarge has proven to be nothing but a perfect gentleman, a gentle giant, so I anticipate this is going to be a breeze, but you never know. It's also going to be a nice form of exercise for both Sarge and myself that's outside the round pen and in the paddock with the other horses, and it's just a perfect opportunity for Drakaina to see how she will respond when I ride a horse in the big paddock. As you can see, she's very respectful with space. I think she's well-mannered. I'm not sure what she's going to do here. As you can see, she's following us on the ride. This is perfect because now she's also getting a great form of exercise. And isn't she such a great mover? I know somebody in the prior videos did say that Drakaina is already moving like a dressage horse, and this is the direction that I would love to take Drakaina one day once she gets older. But what do you think of her movement? Like I said, this is the first time that I've rode a horse in the paddock with Drakaina, or a bigger horse be exposed to Drakaina in the horse paddock. She's not familiar with me being on a horse's back, so I think she's a little bit skeptical, and she's definitely having fun with Foxy. That's my dog, Foxy. She's a Mal mix Dutch Shepherd. She's like the coolest farm dog, and she's always bringing her toys to the other animals, thinking that they want to play. It's hilarious and it never stops. But she's a really good farm dog. I haven't rode Sarge around Reese's in a long time since that last video either. He usually chases us in the field, so it's glad to see that Reese's is maturing. He's not chasing us, and he's actually being quite behaved today, which is nice. I'm going to go back and check out Patriot and Drakaina and just see if they want to come along more for the hack. I think Drakaina is definitely thinking about it, but I think she's more hesitant to be too distant away from Patriot, but she's thinking about it. Sarge has the most comfortable canter you will ever ride. It's so smooth, it's so powerful, and he's definitely my favorite horse to ride at my farm under saddle. I think my favorite horse to ride bareback is Prince, but under saddle it's Sarge. Has anyone ever rode a Clydesdale or a big draft that's quite agile, it's a great feeling. I think maybe the kennering in the paddock is making Drakaina a little bit more conscientious. What do you guys think? How do you think she's behaving? I think she's incredible with space. She's not like forceful, getting in somebody else's space. She's curious. I just think she's got such a good head on her. What does everyone think about the way she behaves? Janana has really warmed up to Drakaina faster than she's ever done with any other horse, so I'm going to quickly show you how Drakaina is doing across the fence with the other herd members, but I'm very impressed. And that's why Sarge is my favorite horse to ride. He's so good. It's cold. Like my mouth is numb. It's cold. It's hard to talk. Foxy loves playing with the horses when they lay down to roll. She knows her space pretty well, and I never worry about her getting kicked. It's all playing games for Foxy, except if she doesn't know someone that's on the property. She's a great guard dog, but she's more agile than any domestic animal that I have or any wild animals that come to the farm. She's faster than the coyotes, more agile than the deers. She's a machine. It's impressive to watch if you know anything about like the Mal or Dutch Shepherd dog breed. This is the first time that I captured Drakaina bonding with Janana. I did see Janana constantly looking at her from across the fence, which she always does. But this time is different. This time Janana really feels like she's wanting to bond with Drakaina, and Drakaina and her just look so like intimate, almost like big sister, little sister bond. And she's loving the attention from Sarge and Janana. They've pushed Maverick to the side. Maverick wants to hang out too, but see how Drakaina just backs up every now and then? I think it's a sign of submission. What do you think is going on in this interaction? But she's definitely winning over Janana, and I think it's going to be impressive to watch when she's fully integrated amongst the herd. But here, when a horse turns its butt to another horse, it's usually a sign of submission or protection. It can also be a way for the horse to communicate stress or ask for space. To me, she doesn't seem like she's stressed. I just think she's showing submission to Janana and Sarge. And turning its butt can be a sign of respect. So meaning the horse recognizes that you're in charge and it's giving you, meaning Sarge and Janana, the space that they need. And it's also a calming signal that horses use to communicate with others. Turning its butt can also be like a very defensive gesture, such as a horse is trying to evade an aggressive horse, but I don't think it's defensive. Maybe it is partially defensive. She is very young. She's a yearling. Other submissive types of behavior that horses display are lowering their head, avoiding a direct eye contact, moving away from the dominant horse, licking their lips. They also show the whites of their eyes and sometimes even making a snapping mouth movement. You saw that with Patriot and Javelin in the last video, essentially mimicking the eating behavior as a sign of appeasement. Body posture is a very dominant form of communication for horses, and a submissive horse may appear smaller by lowering their body and tucking in their tail, which Drakaina clearly does. Alrighty, now it's time for the fun part. We're going to reintroduce the Emus to Drakaina. She's been missing them. She wants to spend time with them. And it's going to be much easier for me just to manage everybody. I do wish I would have taken this process a little bit differently, as you're about to see, but we live and we learn. As you have seen in prior videos, my emu paddock, which is also known as paddock number 4, connects to paddock number 1, which is at the front of my house across the driveway. And these two paddocks are connected by a 2-gate system that I kind of designed, which allows the horses to travel back and forth between these two paddocks. Initially, I figured I would open up the gate, the access point, and the emus would run through. But I also took this opportunity to feed the emus. And this is where I went wrong. Horses are always hungry, and they haven't distinguished between the emu feeding time and the horse feeding time, obviously. So they are quite eager to come into the access point and see what food they can scavenge. Fortunately, they did not scavenge the food. It was removed in time, but they showed every capability in their arsenal to get into this area, and it was quite challenging to get them out. But no one gets hurt, of course. Everyone's familiar with each other. I've decided that pushing them is not going to work. The good thing is that Patriot is extremely responsive. When I call her, she knows her name. She knows what I'm asking. So I'm going to call her out. Drakaina always follows Patriot. And of course, Reese is curious to find out what the girls are up to. So I just called him out of this area. And now let's get this fun started. This is the first time that all 5 of them, my 3 horses, and the 2 emus have been in this paddock together, and I imagine it's going to be another encore. Besides the inherent social benefits of bringing the emus into the horse paddock with the horses, it is going to be a lot easier for me to manage because it's getting cold here in Maryland, and the temperature this time of the year does get below freezing. So it's important for my animals to be in a paddock which has access to electricity, which they all do, but I get nervous about where the electricity source is, and I don't like to keep the wires outside in case it rains. I just get super nervous with electricity. So bringing the emus in here, I can set up their watering system together. They do share water. There's nothing wrong with that. As you can see, my waters are always clean and spotless. But water freezes at 0 degrees Celsius or at 32 degrees Fahrenheit. And the freezing point of the water is the temperature in which a liquid turns into a solid, so the state of matter changes. And to get the ice to convert back to a liquid state of matter, there are various methods that we can do, but essentially it comes down to adding energy to the source. I get super nervous using de-icers in my water troughs with the horses. Obviously, when you're combining water with electricity and animals, there is an exposure of risk that is inevitable. And I do worry about this more often than not. But to minimize this risk, I try to use the de-icers. Well, I don't try to, but I use the de-icers that the horses have the least amount of opportunity to play with. But there's also a universal drain plug de-icer that you can plug into the bottom, so it has less detection for the horse to see. We automatically assume that water requirements are higher during the very high temperatures, but we may not all realize that when temperatures are below -4 Fahrenheit, the quantity of water required is actually higher than a moderate temperature. And the onset of cold weather can actually increase the requirement for water because there may not be fresh grass and the air is very, very dry. And also, the belief that domestic horses can easily eat enough snow to survive is also a false misconception. This is because it requires a great deal of energy to eat the snow and then melt the snow in the body and then raise the fluid temperature to a normal body temperature, which is between 99.5 to 100.5. And fun fact, it takes about 10 inches of snow to have only 1 inch of water. And also the energy required. Increasing the temperature of 10 gallons of water from 32 degrees, which is freezing, to 100 degrees requires about 1,372 calories. And that's the amount of digestible energy in a pound of feed. So it's just a lot of energy to convert the snow to water and raise that temperature. And also, since we are horse advocates in this group, if you ever do see a horse in a paddock where the water trough is frozen, personally, I would contact the owner or go a step further and maybe assist the horse in getting water. I mean, and maybe that's against popular opinion, but if I saw a horse without water, regardless of the situation, I would make sure that horse had water before I left that situation. And there was an example that kind of said how, water is more critical for a horse than food, and the difference in timing that horse can go about food, which I'm not going to mention because I don't want to encourage that, but it is significantly longer than how long a horse can survive without water. They say that within 12 hours, the horse starts to shut down without water. Water is the most important nutrient for horses. And the reason why I say that is because it's more important than other nutrients such as proteins, fats, vitamins. It's because a horse can live for a period without the food, like we just said, but it cannot survive long without access to clean water. Water is crucial for digestion, temperature regulation, lubrication of the joints, and waste removal in a horse's body. And the dehydration risks include serious health issues like colicking, impaction, lethargy, and eventually they will die from not having enough water, which is why I advocate for horses, meaning that if you know of a situation when the horse does not have access to water or the water is frozen, just help the horse out. That's what personally I would do. And a horse's water requirement does depend on certain factors, like we said, the weather, their activity level, diet, and body weight. But just give them unlimited access to water. And then finally, adding water to your horse's grain helps. I do that throughout the year anyways. You can add salt to your horse's ration to promote water consumption. In the prior videos, you may not have seen my dog Foxy out running around like crazy. So during the quarantine period, I know someone did mention that Foxy would have access to Reese's and Drakaina's water trough, and then she could contaminate the non-quarantine horses. So I did keep Foxy kind of out of the paddocks. That's why you're going to see Foxy in the majority of my videos now, but not in before. And Foxy loves to play with every animal on the farm. Her favorite, sometimes it does look like she's chasing the other animals, but she has her toy in her mouth and she really likes to show it off to my animals, to the neighbors' animals, to people that she knows. She's really a good girl and she's good with everyone that she knows, and she's a little bit more protective around strangers, which is a good quality to have in this breed. Personally, I think giving my yearlings exposure to different types of animals, dogs, emus, chickens, you name it, will make them more well-rounded horses. What is everyone's opinions? These are my first yearlings. And I know yearlings are essentially at the child stage of development, so they're processing so much. So they want to play a lot. They like to spend more time socializing and exploring new different surroundings. And I just think this exposure is really good for their development. The next stage that the girls will go through is called the adolescent stage. This is when they're between the ages of 2 and 3. So Drakaina reaches 2 in February and Patriot reaches 2 at the end of April. And this is essentially the puberty age of the horse. So what upcoming obstacles do you think I should look out for the girls? It's probably more significant for boys, but I could be wrong. But these are considered the teen years, I know. And we all remember those years. So I know there are going to be some trying stages to come. But during the teen years, our horses experience a lot of the same things that we do. They start becoming more independent. They're going to test my boundaries, and they're going to build more confidence, which I love. I always want to have confident horses. And I think that this would be a perfect time to start doing groundwork with them, maybe doing a little bit of liberty training. I'm not sure about lunging because they're so young. What is everyone's thoughts on teaching a horse to lunge at 2 in a big round pen? Because I would like to move forward with that if it's healthy for their stages of development physically, not so much mentally. This weekend, or potentially next week, just depending on how the weather goes, I'm going to bring Patriot, Drakaina, and Reese out into the nature paddock. Patriot grew up in the nature paddock, and she used to gallop around there like a wild Mustang when she was just a foal, when I was exercising javelin because she had to be exercised. However, it's been a year since she was roaming out there, and I'm just hoping that she retained those memories that she learned as a foal so that she can kind of show Drakaina the way of the forest. And I will likely just walk Reese's and Drakaina at first and let Patriot follow, and then eventually let Drakaina out. So I'm hoping that this goes good, but that should be a video that's coming out next week if I make it this weekend, or early next week. Here's the emus drinking water. I think it's really pretty when the emus drink the water like that. But you see how the water is getting iced up? So I'm going to move more of those troughs into the barn and plug it into electricity. It is so cold. It's so cold. My face is freezing. Oh, see them drinking water? It's freezing. Good girl, baby. I love you. Foxy, come here, Foxy, come here. You got a ball for Drakaina? Oh, those two are gonna have so much fun. I hope you enjoyed this video. Remember to comment, share, like, and if you're enjoying this channel, make sure you subscribe. It helps the algorithm and it helps the channel going. Alrighty, enjoy everybody.